Hello again, everyone. This is Joe Henches with Beyond the Chart, and this is Stock Trade Ideas for Sunday, November 2nd, 2014. So we're going to take a look at two that we exited last week, one we're still in, and then two that I'm closely watching. Okay, so the first one we're going to look at here is Twitter. I was watching Twitter really closely, and the thing about Twitter that started to match up with several things that was going on. I was seeing this potential head and shoulders that was forming up here. This top up here was getting a very bearish divergence on all the indicators, not just the RSI. And so we got the divergence, got the head and shoulders. And then when I got this breakdown and started trading below the 10, I actually got my entry signal right here on Monday the 27th, and I know that they had their earnings report coming out right after the market closes. And, you know, sometimes I'm torn about that, but I thought, you know, I'm getting the signal. I've got things working in my favor. I'm not going to just back out of this just because of the earnings report. And it worked out just fine. As we all know, you know, Twitter collapsed in the after hours, and then they opened here's in the trading next day. Now, I ended up getting out at half the position here, and then on Thursday here, and actually really disappointed. I mean, it broke down here. I could have sold it for, you know, a couple hundred more per option down in here. I was looking for it to get a real flush. I was hoping after this bar here, let me get rid of the crosshairs for a minute. After this bar on Wednesday, for a real flush down and at least hit the head and shoulders target. Okay, this is the minimum move estimated based on the height of the head here and breaking the trend line right here. You know, the neckline is what we're actually calling it. And so anyway, ended up after this kind of stalled out, it got down here, it hit 40 and rallied back. I just decided to exit the second half. And I think, you know, the market had been rallying pretty hard, and you just never know. You don't know whether or not Twitter is going to come back up here and fill this gap real quickly or not. And it hasn't so far. And then on Friday, it kind of, you know, it opened up and then it reversed back down. So there's still a good chance that it's going to come right down here and hit this area at a minimum. Remember, it's got this gap that's sitting over here. And I really thought that was going to close, and it didn't do it on Thursday. The low 39.94, you know, the high here 38.92. So there was about another point worth of space in here in the gap. And I thought it would fill right away when it was flushing down, and it just didn't get there. So still ended up being a very nice trade. Very happy with it. The next one is First Solar. This one was not so happy with. Thought maybe we were getting a flag here, okay, a bearish flag with the flagpole and a flag forming. And when we got this breakdown in here, we entered with puts, and then it proceeded to just reverse on us and move right back up here. And so I initially had a stop up here higher, lowered the stop, and was stopped out on Friday. So we took a loss on that trade, but not nearly as much as we made on Twitter and several other very nice trades that we've had in the month of October. All right, so actually I think that may be the first loss for the month of October. I'll have to go back and check. Anyway, the details are on the Trade Ideas webpage, so you're able to look at all that stuff there. And the next one that we're still in is Las Vegas Sands. And again, Las Vegas Sands, I started to get an entry signal here on the downside and got it in here on, this looks like Tuesday. And we entered pretty close to 61, maybe slightly below it. It opened here, then came back up a little bit, and then, you know, that's when I entered. And so now we've been fighting it the last 3 days. A little bit of, you know, it tried to rally in here and it came back down. Closed pretty close to, let's see, 1 penny off the low for the day. So I don't know. It's hard to judge whether or not that's, you know, means anything. It still had a little gap in here from Thursday. So I've got this little trend line drawn here, thinking that we could get a little, you know, kind of a pivot swing play if it breaks this trend line. And if it does, then I don't know. It may come down to test here. We'll have to look to see what the have to look to see. I know I have like an initial target listed, and I can't remember what it is. It may be at the Keltner channels. I'm not sure. I think it might be. The other thing is, notice we got a little bit of what I would call an expanding. It's not a true broadening triangle because of the count, but it's an expanding triangle. Let's just call it that. So not quite sure what to make of it. Anyway, right now I'm just focused on getting a continuation to the downside. That's the focus, and we have lowered our stop on this because of the action here on Friday. So we'll continue to closely monitor that and look for it to go our way. So the next two that I'm watching closely now, this is Broadcom. Now, one of my new subscribers had mentioned several of the stocks that he's been trading and looking at. And Broadcom is one that I have traded and been in and out of for years. And I hadn't looked at it in quite a long time. So in looking at his stocks, I went ahead and added Broadcom to the portfolio of stocks. And I need to update my list because I've got about 40 now. And I've added Boeing. Broadcom. Let me see if I got my list here. Let me see if there's somebody new that's jumping out. Boeing, Broadcom, Celgene, and let's see, looking down the list here real quick. Micro, the MU, Micron Technologies, I guess it is, NXPI, and so a couple of semiconductor stocks that we've got into the list. United Airlines, Delta Airlines. So we kind of expanded the list a little bit. My focus when, I know people ask me this periodically, and I talk about it some on the options page. My focus is trying to get very liquid stocks. Okay, so, at least on the 50-day moving average over 1 million, and I'm actually starting to move and having I'd love to see more of closer to 2 million shares a day. I want liquid stocks so that the options are liquid and actively traded. And I'm going to start shying away more from stocks that that aren't working that way very well. Because I really don't like it when you get in and you go to pick up an option and you pick out the option that you want to get based on maybe the delta and the price range and what you're trying to do, and then you see that the bid and ask has got a range of $30 to $40 between the bid and ask, and I just hate that. So and so the other trade-off when I look at the stocks is I'm looking at the volatility on a stock, and typically I like to see a stock that's ranged during a 12-month period of at least 50%, so that if the high and low, let's say the low is 40, that the high is at least 60, if not more than that. So that it's a type of stock that moves. And a lot of times I'll look at the average true range on that stock to give me a feel for that. And let me give you an example. I love the liquidity on, what is it? MCX. Here, I've got it. I've got it right here. Pull up. Where is not CLF. Oh, FCX. What am I doing? Freeport-McMoRan. Okay, I love the liquidity on Freeport, and it seems to move. The problem I've got with Freeport is the ATR, it's now increased. It's 0.84, but when I look at the average true range back up in here, 0.6, 0.5, 0.5. So that means the average range during the day of the last 10 days is like, half a point. Well, I've got a hard time, trying to trade options on stocks like that. So I really ideally like to see a little bit higher ATR, but then you don't want to get too high in ATR. So it's a little bit of a trade-off, and I'm going to update my list of 40 that I've got, and then we'll go from there. Okay, let's proceed to the last one here real quick. So Broadcom I'm watching. I'm not sure I talked about this. This looks like Broadcom's doing a broadening top, which is also being evident on the SMH ETF, semiconductor holders. And so we're up here at the fifth point up here. We'll see if this materializes, see if this starts to turn back down. Let me see if, not getting a ton of bearish divergence in here. So it may or may not work out. Again, this is a scenario, I put out here as a scenario that I'm watching. If it starts to play along with that scenario, then I start to get excited. If it doesn't, then I throw it aside. So that's just, it's just the way you do it. United Airlines, United Continental, same thing. Same type of thing with the broadening formation. And we back it on out a little bit. It's towards the top end of what it's been doing in terms of the range. So, it's a valid, in my mind, a valid broadening top. You get in the 5 points here. This point has now gone above this point here. Hasn't quite gotten to this trend line, but it doesn't have to. And so again, we'll be watching for, we're getting a little bit of bearish divergence, not much, not super strong. It's not as good as what we saw here between these two tops that then led to this sell-off. So, we'll continue to watch it, and, I've got it on my radar. Again, this is a scenario that I'm looking to see, does it start to play along or not? So, and I'll be continually looking at stuff on a daily basis. But these are the two that are on my watch list right now. And again, we're in Las Vegas Sands, and we'll be back tomorrow night with a market update. And I know I'll be looking at checking in on Apple and Facebook, and I'll look to see if there's some other, I can't remember. Twitter is normally on the rotation, but I just talked about Twitter today, so I'm not going to talk about it again tomorrow. So, all right, everyone, have a great rest of the weekend, and we'll talk to you on Monday night.